I've already indicated that in coming, I behaved as a child would behave toward a loving mother, and that I did not compromise Barbados in any way. I understand that there were allegations that some Barbadian person or business person paid for my travel. That is absolutely false. It is not true, nor did the taxpayers pay. And I don't think that beyond that I owe anybody any further explanation. I came to Barbados to be with my mother, whom the doctor said was dying and who is still gravely ill. She's at home on oxygen because they've indicated it doesn't even make any point putting her in hospital because there's nothing that can be done for her. And I do not regret having come to my mother's bedside, and I owe nobody an apology for that.
And that you were able to leave the quarantine facility.
I was in quarantine for 22 days at Harrison's Point. I do not know what breaches they're speaking about.
All right, so the other thing, you're one of very few public figures to contract COVID-19 that we know of. Could you talk about what the experience was like? How did you manage with the experience?
It was a character building experience for which I would never have volunteered. I came to Barbados, like I said, on the Saturday. Mommy had seen the doctors over the course of like 2-3 consecutive days. And by Saturday morning, 3 specialists said, really, this is it. And so I came to Barbados on the Monday. On the Monday when I came to Barbados, I felt perfectly well. I had absolutely no symptoms of anything. I was in great shape, or so I thought. I was required to be tested, as every Barbadian, everybody who comes into Barbados is required to be tested, and I was required to be tested. I was tested. I was allowed to see my mother because her situation was so severe. In fact, the day before, the doctor said they did not think she could have lived through the night, so it was critical for me to get to her. Because they felt that I would not get a chance to see her again. So I came in on the Monday, the test was done the Monday. I was allowed to see my mother because it was not felt she could make it. And on the Tuesday morning, I received the diagnosis, and I was taken to Harrison Point and spent 22 days there the same way that anybody else would have to. So when they say that, protocols were changed, I don't know what they're talking about. It's just not true.
How was the pain? Did you suffer any pain like how others suffer?
I'm fascinated by the disease because there is no stage at which I felt unwell at all. I never had any visible symptoms at all. No coughing, no sneezing, no runny nose. I never had any symptoms. When I came, I felt well. I had no reason at all to believe that I was ill. I mean, clearly, had I known I was ill, there's no way I would have endangered my mother or my family. So I continued throughout the time that I was at Harrison Point to feel well. We learned, because I was in a medical facility where I was tested 6 times a day, that there were things that were going wrong internally, but I never felt any manifestation of it. Had I not been in there, I would have been going about my normal business.
Where did you feel you contacted the virus?
The doctors tell me that, the Barbadian doctors tell me, who are the specialists, that I will never know. Because our office in New York closed on the 20th of March. Between the 20th of March and sometime in April, I went to the supermarket 3 times. I wore a mask and gloves. My car was sanitized before and after. My handbag was sanitized. My purse was sanitized. My credit cards were sanitized. My shoes were sanitized. My groceries were sanitized. All the mail coming into my house was sanitized. At the official residence, we stopped all service providers from coming, the people who do pest control, etc., all strangers. I had no visitors. At the end of April, after the 3rd week of April, I never left my house except to go for a walk alone, and nobody came to the house. So that I did everything. I took every precaution above and beyond what the average person does, so that I have no idea how I contracted the disease. When, where, how, none. And the doctors tell me I'm never going to know. The thing is that I believe if you look at the US figures, the United States is the global epicenter of the disease. And New York is the epicenter of the disease in the United States. And the community of Queens, in which I live in New York, is the epicenter of the disease in New York. So I am assuming that since I didn't really have contact with people and I took all the sanitization and protection protocols, that there's just so much of it in the atmosphere that it is not possible to escape it, and perhaps that is why so many people there became ill. That would be speculation from a layperson. The truth is, I can say I have absolutely no idea how I got the disease when I took every single precaution. I was shocked. In fact, that was my first reaction when the CMO called me to say, look, I know that you're very distressed about the situation with your mother, but I have to tell you that you've tested positive. And I said, that's not possible. I feel fine. I don't have any symptoms. And, I've taken every single precaution. Are you sure? That was my reaction.
My final question. You have to feel some elation or something like you among so many people who have passed, you have survived. You have to feel elated in some way.
I bow to Corey Ford, Dr. Corey Ford, the consultant, who is the infectious disease specialist that leads the professionals here in Barbados. I know that the people see the CMO from the perspective of policy, but in terms of the design of the treatment, the facilities, the care, the interventions that are done to save people's lives, I bow to Corey Ford, who is a young Barbadian doctor, highly, highly skilled, CDC trained, that we could have somebody at that level in Barbados and that they're able to do. We did a comparison, actually, not he and I, a comparison was done. If you look at Plainfield, New Jersey, I think they have 77,000 residents or something like that and have had thousands of deaths. So if you translate that, or hundreds or thousands, but a huge number, in a much smaller population than Barbados. So if you look at what our doctors have been able to do, and all of the specialists, the Cuban nurses, the Barbadian nurses, the technicians, because I don't think people recognize that a large number of care specialists beyond doctors and nurses, all of the cleaners, for instance, had to be specifically trained how to deal with COVID and the protocols on how to clean, to make the environment safe for the patients, for themselves. If you look at the number of medical professionals who have taken ill in New York, I was supporting Barbadian nurses working in the hospitals who came down with COVID themselves. When I say supporting, I don't mean I was with them physically, but phone calls, trying to keep their spirits up, keep them encouraged and so on. We have not lost any medical professionals here, any medical or nursing professionals. None of them have gotten sick. That speaks to the quality of the protocols and the work that is being done here. That we were able to save so many people, that we didn't have greater community spread, that there hasn't been massive loss of life. And I said, if you Google it, you would be able to get the data for Plainfield, New Jersey, and be able to do the comparative analysis. And when you see what we have done here, like I said, I worship the ground. I don't want to say worship because people will take it out of context, but I bow at the professional level to Corey Ford and his team.
Okay.
Be responsible for what people see. What I know is that I'm now 58 years old. I first ran for election, I must have been in my 20s. I've been serving this country at various levels in various places for longer than you have been born. Yes, I was allowed to see my mother. I was not allowed into society. People come in, are tested, and they self-isolate. They go to Sugarcane Club, they go to the Crane, I think some of them go to the Hilton. They're tested and they self-isolate at various places until they have their results. That's all that I did. I came in, I was tested. I self-isolated at my mother's house because I needed to see her given her condition. And the next morning I got my result and went straight into Harrison Point. So there wasn't a position that I went into quarantine and then left the quarantine. From the day I went into quarantine, I never left for 22 days. I was in Harrison Point like any other patient, any other person affected by this disease. So people are allowed to self-isolate, and I was allowed to self-isolate for while pending my test result for that one. I didn't even go to my own house. I went only to my mother's bedside. That is all, and that is no different. I could have gone to the Crane, I could have gone to Sugarcane Club, or any of the other places. I simply self-isolated at the bedside of a dying woman. So the whole thing that special protocols were created, no special protocols were created. I had to follow the rules. I mean, do you understand that I spent 22 days locked into a facility, deprived of my freedom, could not leave, could not be with my mother. 22 days. Think about what that meant to me emotionally. You've come, I didn't even bring clothes. I threw a few things in a suitcase. I came home to see my mother. Felt I would get to spend the last days of her life with her. So that is Saturday. You find out your mother is going to die. Out of the blue. This wasn't as if this was an ailing woman. Saturday I find out my mother is going to die. I'm able to get to her bedside on the Monday. I'm thinking, good, I'm going to stay with mommy until. And then I learned that I have a potentially life-threatening disease and that I have to go into a government facility for God knows how long. The whole thing was a complete emotional upheaval, and it was a mind game that I had to tell myself, I'm going to let the doctors take care of my body, but I had to deal with my mind, because being locked into a facility that you can't leave, have no contact with anybody, no contact with the outside, no TV, no radio, little internet access, So this notion that special things were created for me, and put the taxpayers to effects, or get money from a business person, that is a lot of rubbish. And like I said, I love my mother dearly. I know she isn't going to be with me for much longer. I am grateful to God that He has allowed us both to have additional time, and I am happy that I'm able to see and spend time with her. And I would like to think that anybody who had a good mother would want to be with theirs. I certainly want to be with mine.